Hi, welcome back. We have a guest around the Workstand this week.
We do. We have Alex Slocum here. Mr.
Yes.
Alex Slocum, who are you? What do you do here at Workstand?
Gosh, I don't know. Well, I'm the product team manager, which is a new department for this business, and it's turned out to be, I hope, very valuable. But yeah, I'm just a bike shop person who's been working in the bike industry since I was probably of legal age, maybe a tiny second before that. And I'm happy to still be here. And I guess that's it. That's me.
We won't tell. So you started off in bike shops at 11 years old.
Mm-hmm. Right. They weren't paying me, but I was certainly in there trying to get some discounts.
Illegal, underrepresented labor. It's a good way to start. And what happened after bike shops? What was the next career move? You know, give us a quick how you got from that to here.
Yeah, sure. Well, my parents didn't think there was a career in bikes specifically, but I was also big into computers, software. Built my first computer. I was about 12 or 13, and so I knew I wanted to go to engineering school. Wanted to study how to make things, really. And so that's kind of what I did. And when I kind of finished studying up on engineering in college and was looking to enter the workforce, I kind of struggled to want to join a typical corporate engineering firm. And so I just got another job at a bike shop and brought my software skills to a little retail shop in Bucks County. Shout out to Scott for hiring me, even though I was not a good fit based off of my qualifications at the time. But we did cool things there, and we were able to automate a lot of everyday tasks in the shop. And eventually, I would kind of pursue creating software for the industry as a long-term career. I'm really happy I did that.
So are we.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So how long have you been here? And I asked that leading question to also ask that step right before you got here, because that's an important part of what we're doing now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I got here about 2 years ago now, and I came along with a product called Retail Toolkit during the merger between Smart Detailing and Smart Detailing and Retail Toolkit. And I was working with Retail Toolkit since about 2014. In fact, one of the early principles behind Retail Toolkit Open to Buy was a feature that we kind of had started to employ at our bike shop. And so it was kind of a good fit that we had used the tool. I was able to continue to service it from a development perspective. I used to be a software developer. I guess I should start there. And yeah, one thing led to another. The two businesses were a great fit for each other. They merged, and I've been able to come along with it and continue to support the product.
Yes. So you are our product team manager, like we mentioned, and the product team in general is pretty new to Workstand. Kind of like what do you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, we're our own department. We're independent from development and from other departments in the business, marketing, client success. But we're really tiny, so it almost feels like we don't deserve a whole department, but our independence is really important to what we do. We kind of serve as a liaison between departments to make sure that the product's the best version of itself that it can be, that it's well supported, well documented, easy to communicate to our merchants, and it's developed efficiently, it's developed effectively, and a lot of times businesses struggle to communicate between different departments in the business. Leadership may have a challenge communicating their ideas and their desires to the developers. Developers may have a harder time communicating the technical challenges that they face back to those stakeholders. And so we kind of sit as qualified middlemen, I'll say. But it's an important middleman role. And in that case, in that sense, I say I'm proud to be a part of it. And I think, a lot of us on our team have some technical background, so we understand the technical needs of the development department. But we've all also had some deep-seated involvement in the industry, whether it's the retail, just being in the bike industry as a patron, et cetera. So we're kind of well positioned to understand what the business needs from this particular product. but also how to effectively develop it.
Yeah.
And how many people are our product team?
There's 6 of us, including myself. So we've got 3 UX and UI designers. We've got 2 business analysts and myself.
So that's some what do you call the slang, or in a when you use a phrase only somebody in the industry would know? I'm drawing a blank.
Jargon?
Jargon. That's jargon. What's a UX and what's a UI and what's a business analyst?
Yeah, sure. Right. So
Thank you, Susie.
UX stands for user experience. UI stands for user interface, and the user interface being what the user interacts with, in our case, within the browser. So the two are closely related. A user's experience often is often largely affected by the user interface, but it's not just that. It's also understanding that user flow from the beginning to the end. So our UX team is very good at understanding what the need is from a merchant. We get a lot of feedback. Sometimes it's for feature X, sometimes it's for feature Y, sometimes it's pain points. We kind of distill all that down and look at what the user was trying to do, what their experience was, and how to improve that experience, both through functionality and user interface improvements. And so that's a lot of what the UX and UI team do. A business analyst really kind of speaks for the merchant behind it within our business. They understand the needs of a retailer, particularly in our industry. And we're lucky enough to have BAs who are familiar with specifically the bike industry, not general business analysts. And then taking those merchant needs and distilling them into true functional changes that we have to make, supporting new data structures. It's a little bit more of the technical side, but it also is a very important part of, creating a quality user experience.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we talk a little bit about kind of, I think, the pivotal role you and your team have played in our latest announcement?
What happened? Did something big happen?
Did we do something?
Here at the business?
Did you do something?
I don't know. I'm not looped in, but let me know. Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, just last month, we announced that we are releasing in-store features or a POS system. How did that happen?
It's exciting. It's been a long time coming. I mean, for some of us more than others, but at least for this business, we've been actively working on it for the last 2 years. Right around when my involvement started, and it was just a simple thought of how to turn an online sale into something that a merchant could control themselves from the merchant admin center. And that was called creating a quote. And we knew that would evolve into the point of sale. Yeah, but it's been, quite a road implementing all the features the point of sale needs to have to effectively operate your business. And I think it's gone pretty well. But I'm biased.
We would agree, obviously. But what 2 years ago, if you look at today, how close is it to what you thought would happen? Because normally these things don't generally do exactly what you thought. Because I'm pretty excited, and I get to talk to people about this all the time. How the features have evolved, where they are right now as opposed to what they might be in 6 or 12 months. And it's really good. So how close is it? What do you feel like if we had told you 2 years ago, this is where we'd be? Would you be happy, or would you be excited, or would you be impressed?
I'd be quite happy. I think we've done a little more than I would have expected. I know if you talked to Ryan, I'm sure actually you did on this podcast.
we did, yeah.
He would have expected it to be done in half the time. And as a developer myself, I know these things are really hard to get the last mile. So you can make a lot of progress early on, and you just start chunking out functionality. But when you really have to dial into details, everything has to be pretty robust to be the pinnacle point of software for your entire retail operation. So I'm happy with what we've come up with now, and I think it has a lot more features in it than I probably would have guessed. I think our purchase order tool is a lot more full featured than I would have guessed our first version was. We talk about MVP a lot, which is just kind of the minimum viable product, and it's just such an ugly term because we don't want to, I don't aspire to hit the minimum for anything.
Right.
But when you first spec out a project, you have to start there. And I'm happy that on release day, we have a product that's much beyond our plans for the initial minimum viable product. And I think it's quite viable now for a lot of the sectors in the industry that are under supported by their point of sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so many of us who don't have any development experience or software experience, like you can look at something and see it as relatively simple and have no idea how much time and effort and continuous effort goes into it. So we appreciate that.
We're super lucky to have the development department we have, and Dave Beck running that along with the principal developer Toby. They're great mentors to the development team. They are comfortable being transparent, and that's been super important for us as a product team that has to manage business expectations and also, cater to what the most efficient path is, without us being able to work so closely with them. And there's a lot of faith and trust that's between our team and theirs. I don't think we would have gotten here. We would have, had a lot of more roadblocks along the way, but we're able to communicate pretty effectively and, circumnavigate those when we need. That's not the term.
You got through them.
But
we figured out jargon earlier.
So it's a kind of a good lead into people listening now are going to be merchants and suppliers, often not versed in software development. Tell us, just give us a feel for why isn't it so simple? What is the process from an idea who comes up? I mean, clearly I send you many brilliant ideas, but I don't see all of them show up in the software right away.
I wonder why.
Because they're so brilliant, not everybody gets it. But the point is, help folks understand, because we get a lot on the client-facing side of, why don't you just do this? It's just this. It's just a button. I just want this. Give us a feel for that process so that everybody can have a better chance of understanding why it's not that simple.
Well, it often starts all the way at the bottom, and that's the data. And so we rely so heavily on data to support a quality product. There's product data separate from inventory data, which is tracking how many quantities you have. We have customer data. There's payment data in the form of transactions, cash data. And all of these have to work in unison. They have to work in sync. And one small change, seemingly small change to one of those services, is what we call them, has compounding effects on potentially other services as well and their relationship to each other. So sometimes it seems as easy as, I'd like a button here that allows me to print a different receipt type. Well, the reality of that is you'll have to make that receipt choice decision every time unless we create a setting. If we create a setting, that means we have to add a data point in the database for every merchant because it'll vary merchant to merchant. That change in database has scaling consequences to our database structure, which could possibly have an effect on performance. Performance is something we take very seriously because we want to make sure consumers are never having an issue. I mean, so you never know what the compounding effects are of a seemingly simple ask. So what we like to do is take in all that feedback, yours as well, Mark, try to understand the core merchant needs, the core user needs, and then a lot specifically tied to an improvement. But at that point, figure out how we can solve for that need in the most efficient path with the least amount of consequence to all the other parts of the application.
Yeah. So Mark, your opinion is valid.
Yeah.
But
even
so especially right now, I feel like an underestimated aspect of what you do is that you're getting feedback from so many different places. Like internally, maybe it's our marketing team. They're really kind of like high touch users. They're working with some of the largest retailers in the country. I mean, retailers themselves are not coming directly to you, but we pass that along to you. Members of other teams, it's coming from everywhere. Leadership, like how do you prioritize that feedback?
Yeah. Well, first we have on our UX team Janelle Henning, and she's great at doing user experience research. So she's given us methods. which allow us to take all that feedback and make use of every little bit of it. And so it does come in droves. We love that. A lot of times it's validating to see things we already are working on be asked for, because we know we'll be able to deliver that soon. Sometimes it's a surprise and we see things we wouldn't have expected, but we understand them. But it starts with grouping them. So we have a lot of different feedback. We want to find themes. If we see 5 people are maybe describing it in different ways, but struggling with the ability to perhaps manage their cash drawer, we'll take that under note, and then we have a board where we can see where all of the hot topics are coming and cropping up, and then we kind of assess the biggest impact for the least amount of risk, effort, expense, however you want to call it. So if we see a really impactful feature that we know we can kind of implement in a couple of weeks because 5 people have asked for it, and we've assessed the path and we know the implications are minimal, that will probably be prioritized a little bit over, the one thing that, maybe 1 or 2 merchants have mentioned, but would require a serious overhaul. So that's a little bit of what we do there.
It's a lot of juggling. How is it dealing? Because we talk a lot about the legacy side of the business. How is it, and how much do you get to deal with the legacy of the e-commerce platform, bringing that together with in-store features, while at the same time we spent the last 5 or 6 years trying to modernize the platform in general?
Yeah. Legacy often, especially in development, has like stink to it, this bad terminology. It means old. And honestly, to me, legacy has its challenges because it is so full featured. And so the reason we've been able to, and I know it feels like it's been 2 years and that's a long time, but the reason we've been able to spin up this point of sale in just 2 years, and I'll say just, is because of all of that quality infrastructure that was already built in legacy. We have product management tools. We have the concept of this library that manages product data, that disseminates it to merchants as they import it. I mean, all of that is super powerful and has allowed our point of sale as it stands currently to be extremely full featured. Point of sale, I should say, purchase orders has all of this rich product data. You can look right from the sales screen and get a full featured e-commerce page that you can show your customers with all the specifics of the product right there. I mean, I think a lot of what we built already over the last 25 years is hugely foundational to what we've built in the last 2 years. And yes, the tools we've built more recently are more modern and will be more efficient, and we'll continue to maintain and upgrade the legacy platforms and continue to modernize them as well. But I don't love this legacy versus modern distinction, because it's all very powerful, and we continue to work on and iterate all of it. So do I deal with it a lot? Yeah, all the time, just as much as I deal with the new software.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, cool. That gets us from where we were at the start. It's a couple of years ago, and maybe I'm excited. Maybe we're all excited. I think we are, that what we've released, or what we will soon call an official release, is even a little better than we thought. But what are we working on now for next, and what do we see in the next 6-12 months as our path to grow this MVP thing, even if we don't like the term, into something more full featured?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So we see ourselves as kind of this omni-channel platform now. We're serving e-commerce, we're serving brick and mortar. And so we're going to kind of look at our application comprehensively and determine what comes next. It's not going to be necessarily a concerted effort in one particular area. So what we have coming up next is we're looking to make some significant improvements to the checkout. We think one of the things we would love to support our merchants in doing is to create, is to improve upon their conversion rate at checkout. We're looking at all sorts of other competitors and seeing what conversion rates are. And we feel like we have the tools at our disposal to improve that checkout process just a little bit and start capturing additional sales there. So that's one of the places I think we're going to be focusing right now. And we're also going to be focusing on service and work orders. We see that as a big place. It's just it's the center of the bike shop is the service department. And we see a lot of ways where we can build a product that's a lot better than what other point of sales have done, because the tools that exist in the other systems have existed for 10, 15 years. And we're looking at it from a fresh approach and a comprehensive approach, like I said, that includes e-commerce all the way down to the service department. And they all link together more than you might expect based off of
But I can
previous
tell you that
platforms.
from some of the early demos I've given is the POs are very developed, like you said. But when you take that same view into the supply chain, both what's in stock and what's at suppliers, in the environment of a work order, when a service writer or a service manager is writing that ticket up and is able to look at a bike and know, okay, this stuff's in stock, this is not, I'm going to need that. Let me not promise this Friday. Let me promise this for, I mean, that's super powerful. So it's good to hear. We're going to keep pulling at that thread.
Yeah. And positioned as we are, delivering bike shop websites, we have our online service scheduler. That's a feature we've had for a little bit, and we're going to have the opportunity to integrate that in with real service features within the admin center. So
that really really kind of backs up our rebrand, our name change as well. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't have been more thrilled with that rebrand. Obviously, Smart Detailing, the name, has been a huge player in the industry since even that first job, where maybe I was a little early. But nonetheless, I'm excited for us to be Workstand because, like the fact that the Workstand, the service department, is the center of a bike shop, I want our platform to be the software center of that bike shop as well.
Yeah. Do you also work in marketing? Sounds really nice.
No, and please don't sign me up for another one. I've got enough jobs, I think.
That's we've been getting ready for this episode and talking about you, and basically we just call you the guy that gets stuff done, because it has been, and this is not just because you're here. It's been awfully impressive to watch how you've, I don't want to say driven, because a lot of people were involved in this, but how you have kept this on track and been open about it. And that's what we appreciate you being here, because so often, even in our own history, how products come to be, how features come to be isn't the most transparent thing. So it's been great to watch, and I'm glad that you were willing to come on and talk about these things. I think it'll be interesting and helpful for our clients.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And I do want to make sure we know that people who do actually get the work done are our developers and our UX designers and business analysts. I'm just a facilitator, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Sure, you're an excellent middleman. I feel like the middleman usually gets a bad rap.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really like that we were kind of talking about what you wanted to do earlier on, that like you wanted to make things. I feel like that's really how we think about you as a person. Like a lot of people don't get to see kind of what you do behind the scenes or what you do on your own time. Would you, I mean, this is kind of off topic, but would you share like some of the things that you make and do?
Sure. Well, I can't stay focused on one hobby. That's not great. It probably shows a little bit of attention challenges, but I do like making things, and occasionally I'll go through a little woodworking project. A lot of my furniture here I made myself. Sometimes I sew. I've made a couple of dress and pant sets. It's tedious work, but every now and then I get the craving for a little bit of a project. And so I get done with my work project, and then I go to my after work project. And let's see, what I have cooking at the moment is some things for Halloween.
I'll say this is.
I guess I can't spoil the surprise yet, but
no. Okay.
The rest of the business might have to see it later. But yeah, I'm still a builder, and I take my free time, and that's what I do with it. Big into cars. I do a lot of work on my cars.
Cool.
I like getting junk cars and turning them into a little bit less junk. I couldn't see myself buying a new car. It's already done. What am I supposed to build here? I'm not sure.
Something else.
Yeah.
Something else. I've always wanted to do like a kit car. You like get like some cool like 60s Shelby, something that I obviously could never afford, and put it on like a Miata chassis and go from there.
If you ever do that, Susie, I will donate my Miata to your project, because I had no idea that was a thing you'd be interested in. I will donate my Miata to your Shelby Cobra.
Mark has a Miata?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me and my dog ride around in it. He sits in the front seat, and me and Watts ride around in the Miata with the top down. And I refuse to put the top up unless it's under 20 degrees at night, or if it's raining or snowing enough to get in the car, or maybe if it's too hot for the dog. He doesn't
If
like
you're
it too
going
much.
fast enough, like, does the rain affect you? Is this like a
Up to about 50 miles an hour, it can be raining pretty hard and not get in the car. So we're just learning all kinds of things about each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
But coming back to making things, this, I believe we are publishing this on Halloween.
We will. Today is Halloween, as far as anybody knows.
Today
This
is Halloween.
right now.
Today's Halloween.
Yes.
Oh, right.
So a favorite Halloween candy, if you're a Halloween person? Or is it about candy at all?
No, it's not about candy.
Okay.
It's about scaring people. That's where it's at.
We'll have to, I don't know, we'll have to like insert some screenshots of some scary things. We've seen some scary things in meetings from Alex.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, Alex, this has been fun. Have we missed anything? Is there anything you wanted to make sure that our team members that listen and our clients that listen hear?
I mean, I don't know. I'll trust that this is what you all were looking for. I hope it wasn't like too much going on about our team and how the business works, but it sounded like from the notes, that is what we're trying to share a little bit of.
Well, I think that is important because I think we all, like you mentioned, and it's not just the product team. Most of us, Susie and I, most of of Workstand spent time in bicycle retail or retail of some description. We're almost all riding bikes one way or the other. I think it's great to hear about the team in particular, and it helps people get a feel for this thing they pay for every month. How did it get to the way it is, and how does it going to grow? And it's great to see so much, conviction in how it does grow to make sure it grows into the right thing. And that makes me feel better, even though I get to hear it more often. But I think it's very valuable for people.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, I've learned some things. I think this is going to be an amazing resource, both for our clients, future clients, and all of our team members.
Yep. So if you think anything else, you're always, we'd love to have you back on anytime. In fact, maybe we'll just shoot for that once or twice a year to get an update and see how things are going.
I would like to be a repeat guest for sure.
Yeah.
This wasn't too hard.
We try.
It wasn't too hard.
Nope, that's what this is about, is hanging out and making sure we share what's going on inside a Workstand and outside and while we're doing all this stuff. So thanks for joining us around the Workstand.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you. I think one last thing, if you're a retailer and you have feedback, how should you get that to us, Mark?
Well, you should email it to info@workstand.com. Ask those questions. Brian Rawlings and I watch that box and respond to those. We've got an excellent feedback form that Alex's team has provided. We collate all that feedback and get it to them. So anything you'd like to see, as Alex mentioned, all feedback's welcome and it's good. It doesn't mean that it's going to, as I've painfully learned over the last 13 years, it doesn't mean it's going to show up in the software right away, but it has a chance, and it doesn't have a chance if you don't share the feedback. So it's all welcome, and bring it whenever you have it, and we'll share it with the product team and all the other teams here at Workstand.
Well, thank you so much, Alex, for joining us. This has been wonderful. And until that next time, we'll see you around the Workstand.